I bet you that felt like forever for you guys for me to get back here. In reality, it was only 50 minutes for me. Only 50 minutes for me. It's keeping some of the darker color now that the lemon is in it. Still some stuff on the frets. What I forgot to do was clean the fretboard with naphtha before I did this. It's always something. But it wasn't that dirty to begin with. Now, how about those edges? There was a, yeah, right there. I haven't touched up those edges just yet. Stand by till I take care of that. Okay, we are buttery smooth everywhere. Let's take a look at these two nuts. That are competing. The tusk. Wow, fits like a glove. Fits like a glove, look at that. Just fell right in the crack. Just perfect. Now, the question is, will it be high enough? Let's see. I know this one was a little too high. Let's check the height. What do they look like? Yeah, the tusk is a little bit lower, but because the slots are bigger and they're really cut nice. Hear that? Thud. Sounds like glass. This one should sound the same. Almost, a little denser. Much denser. Let's see what the bone does. Fits perfectly. Darn. And the running is neck and neck. And it looks like the tusk and the bone are about the same when it comes to slot height. Well, the bone's a little bit higher, especially on the treble side. Yeah, not by much. I think what I'm going to need to do is to wait until I can get some strings on there and see what it looks like over the fret. Alright, so I'm just going to put all these nuts aside for now. And so So before I put the wiring back on, I am going to go back to the other bench now that all this is done. The post seems to be doing good. It's not 24 hours yet, it's only been what? It's 7:05. And I put that on a little bit before noon, so it's only been 7 hours, but they say it doesn't take that long. But I like wood glue to set up for, 24 hours when I can. I'll take 12, but there's no rush. I think I'm just gonna let it go with that because there's other work to be done. But before I go, I just wanted to show you the neck, if I can get it in a good light, like that. Yeah, there you go. It's keeping its color quite nicely now. And I'm sure that overnight that lemon oil is going to continue to, seep down into the grain. I can tell that it's got to be at least a kind of a rosewood because the grain is quite more coarse than some of the engineered wood I've had, or the ebony, or the what's called the perillas. Those are much denser, and you don't really see or feel the grain like that. Okay, off to the other bench. Upon arriving at this bench and opening this up, when I was taking the front nuts off, I realized that the hole sizes for the pots are not the same over here. Smaller than these. These are like, I think 8s, those are like 6s. So we're going to reserve the firefly stuff until some other time, because I just don't feel like fiddling with opening up those holes. I just don't feel like it. So I've already put my 22 cap capacitors in there to replace the green chiclets. Were 47s. Now I just have to modify the wiring on the volume pots to swap pins 1 and 2 around to be able to separate the volume controls in the center position. I'm just going to put a dab new solder on there because the solder on here looks a little off. I lost my needle nose pliers at this bench, and I have looked for them a lot. So we have to use the ones from bench number 1 until I find them when I'm not looking for them. That's usually the way it happens. That's usually it. So my little R2-D2 robot here, oh actually this is Robocop. R2-D2 is my little vacuum cleaner. Looks just like R2-D2. Now is that just tacked there? Let me see. That one is. Might be in the hole. Yep, now it was. Now, up there and into the number 1 position. And now we need to get these 2 into this hole. And now that it's opened, they should go in. And wait for me to scald it with hot solder. Stay. Boom. Oh ho, jumped out on me. Not nice. Not nice. Little bugger. Yeah, come on, get on there. Boom. All good. I might need that again. Just leave it off. In the meantime, just stick it back there in its hole. See if we can pull the other one up from down in there. Now there's a short wire on it from the switch. Will it come out a little bit? A little bit. Just a little bit. There's a short wire coming from the switch. Or the pickup. Well, the pickup's supposed to go to the switch first. Oh, this also has the ground on the back for the claw, or the bridge on this in this particular case. Let's see how I can get this to hold with that short wire. That definitely won't come any further than that. So I might need to change this orientation, bring that down a little bit, like this. Give me a little bit more fighting room. Rotate and hold. Let's see, does it work better that way? Nope. Yeah. But for soldering, let me tell you, you need a nice 60-40 lead tin composition with a rosin core to make it flow nicely. Okay, roll this up, off you go. Now, I was wondering what happened to extra alligator, but it's over there. So I'm going to put the thumb in the way. I'm going to put the nuts back on here like that. I'll put the finger on the other one. Put the washer on the top. Get the nut. Give it a start. I'm just going to take my 10, bring it up snug enough. Then we'll give it a little touch from the handle. There you go. Just in. I was also noticing that the knobs were just a little bit loose. I think somebody bent these in a little bit. So I'm just going to give them a tiny little bend back out. So they'll grab a little bit better on those speed knobs. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to turn them all up to full. And we'll try to position all the zeros in the same angle. Looks good. And these speed knobs are quite nice. They're really clear. There's no imperfections in them. Little bubbles or anything like that. Or, you know, white spots that didn't take right. Okay, they all seem to be working just like that. You know, we're getting really close to strings and nut. That we are. I don't know how many feet was on this roll of solder. Let's see, does it say? Oh, it was by the pound. Net weight 1 pound. 1 pound. I've had this roll since 1973. And you can tell there's a lot on it still. I always use the very, very tiny one. The thicker one takes more heat to melt it. This one flows much faster. So if you're going to do any soldering, that's a tip. Get the smaller one. You'll put less heat on your components. Okay. You know, I think I'm going to quit for today. Take a break, make a cup of tea, sit down, relax. I think that's what I should do. And for you, I'll be back in a jiffy. Okay. The fretboard. Oh, that was a nut I was testing. The fretboard is nice this morning. It's a new day. The shiny job that I did on here is nice. I mean, it was already really shiny. I just put some wax on it to say that I did it, and it feels a little bit glassier than it did before, but it really didn't need it. I just needed to basically rub it over with a microfiber towel. I've made no secret, I guess, that I really bought this guitar because of the color. And it could have been any style. It just happened to be that they make this style in this color from Fantasy Guitar Club on AliExpress. And before I get a interference with that, I'm just gonna turn it off. And they did a spectacular job of the poly over this sparkle. I mean, there's not one blemish, not a swirl, not a crack. I mean, nothing anywhere. Pretty nice, pretty nice. I've decided to go with the bone nut because the bone nut more closely matches the color, the white color of the binding around the neck. The tusk is a little bit more darker white. And I thought, a little bit of a contrast. It either had to be black to match the headstock or the whitest bone nut that I've got. And I think I'm going to go with that one. Now, I remember doing a measurement of the strings that were on here, and I said it was 8, and then 42. It's usually 9 to 42. And I did measure the high E twice, just to make sure. And it came out 8 both times. And so, I've decided that I'm going to put a special set that I bought, which is 8.5 to 39 on this one. I've got some 9 to 42s coming in tomorrow, but I want to do some work today. I've got some 9.5s to 45s as well, but I'm thinking I'm just going to go with the 8 on this one. 8.5. Of course, they're D'Addarios and they're EXL 130 plus. The plus. There's the bridge. I'm not sure what the plus is. Oh, maybe it's because they're an EXL 130 is likely the 8s, and then the plus is usually the 0.5. I think that's what they do on the 9s as well. Okay, so I'm not doing anything with the nut gluing at this point because I think I'm going to need to adjust the slots backwards a little bit. The slots are pre-slotted. There's a wee bit of a back angle. I'm not sure if that's going to be picked up on the camera. Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's a wee bit of a, yeah, you can't really see it at all. So there's a wee bit of a back angle on it, but it sits in the slot over there, and there's a slight cant forward on it, which I think makes the back angle on the nut not there, irrelevant. So I probably am going to need to put a little bit of a back angle on that again, just to make sure that the front edge is still nice and crisp and sharp for the strings going over. And I'm going to check each string with that nut and make the appropriate adjustments with my files. And once I've got it, with everything set up, and I've got the right angle, and I've got the action nice here, I probably am going to have to relieve this truss rod just a little bit. Might as well do that now while I'm thinking of it. And I'll do that full setup, and then by the time I have it all set up the way it's supposed to be, only then will I glue in the nut at the very end of making sure everything is set up properly. So I am going to do that work, and I will get back to you. Alrighty, it's strung up. It's quasi in spec. It just needs to wait for the tension to come up on the strings, and we'll do the final adjustments, the truss rod, etc. We started with some relief. Turns out that on the 2B, still grinding out in the middle. I think I'm probably going to have to give it another turn, going that way. It obviously doesn't have enough. And this is where the time comes in. When you're doing this part. We need to wait for the settling to occur. All right, it's close. We'll get back.